Hi everyone, it's time for the weekly video, which this week is a reminder that on the podcast we are covering some classic Universal Monster movies in this week's episode. We have, I think most years, every year, done something special during October, whether it's tackling a full series, whether it is The Exorcist, it was the Halloween movies. We did Rob Zombie episodes that we had to re-record, and that was a tough time. That was an awful lot of Rob Zombie. I can't recall what else we've covered. Anyway, we're always trying to do something, but it's getting that balance between the focus on one horror series and providing some variety through the month and on the run up to Halloween. So the deal is this week it's Universal Monster movies, and we are doing Dracula, we're doing Frankenstein, we're doing The Wolfman, and we're doing Creature from the Black Lagoon. So we're not covering all of these, but we are covering, I would say, the ones we tend to like most, although I love The Invisible Man. I've never really liked The Mummy. I'm just not a fan of The Mummy. But yesterday I watched Creature from the Black Lagoon in the 3D Blu-ray. I have this. Let me just reach up here. Don't go looking up my nose. See, I have all of these individual sets. And I recommend them all. And the Mummy there. But what this set has, that those sets do not, is the 3D version of Creature from the Black Lagoon, and I like a bit of 3D, so I got it. This is, if you can still find this cheap, I still highly recommend this. The Legacy sets are beautiful, and you should totally get the individual Legacy sets, but if you find the main box set cheap, it's a wonderful piece of work, and it has the 3D disc from Creature from the Black Lagoon, which, as I just watched yesterday, I can say is absolutely superb. It is gorgeousness throughout. The 3D is, I mean, it's fantastic. I want to say it's some of the best 3D I've sat through, but it's probably been a while since I've sat through some 3D movie fun. Maybe since Dial M for Murder that we covered on the podcast, but it's really good. Really, really good. The film is great. I don't want to go into too much detail until the podcast. So we're going to hopefully have some contextual conversation, maybe drop some factoids. That'll be fun. And then, because I ended up having a 3D day yesterday, I also followed it up with this. I'm a big Guns N' Roses fan, have been since my early teens, and this disc is awesome. It's not a classic lineup, obviously. Guns N' Roses tends to revolve around the ego of Axl Rose. You could say it's always revolved around the ego of Axl Rose, but it's a great concert. It's a fantastic set list considering the albums that they pull tracks from. It's gloriously excessive in terms of the full presentation of each song that is used. Axl Rose above the crowd on a piano while women dance up and down silks beside him. Vegas dancing girls when they're playing, like Rocket Queen and I think You Could Be Mine. They appear at various points. Guitarists going up to the camera and playing the guitar like that, just so you can see their cockiness in 3D. It's just superb. I can't recommend it highly enough if you're a GNR fan. And the 3D presentation was kind of cool. It wasn't completely necessary, but it did give you a really good feeling of often being at the concert with the immersive depth and stuff being thrown at the camera now and again. It was a really good mix. I think I've said many times before that I like 3D when it's people pointing things at your face and using it as a gimmick rather than trying to pretend it is this whole added dimension of immersion, despite what I've just said. But yeah, the Guns N' Roses concert has that balance, because you can at times feel like you would be there looking at the main stage, seeing the different layers. Brilliant. Anyway, I won't go on anymore about Guns N' Roses. I got to see Black Adam at the cinema at the weekend. It is the latest big release, I guess, in terms of mainstream blockbuster movies. I think a lot of us are a little bit superhero fatigued at this point, I would say. I think that's fair to say. What I will say about Black Adam is there were actually a surprising amount of parts that I liked. None of those were really the superhero parts. I say superhero, if you've seen the trailer, you know that it was claiming to not be a hero, and Black Adam is this powerful force played by Dwayne Johnson, who doesn't really want to put on a cape and tights and be a hero. But yeah, there are some really good points to be made about defining yourself, taking power into your own hands, what you could do with that power and responsibility, which is essentially the same as the Spider-Man saying, but in a really sort of more interesting and more resonant way for what's being dealt with. So I like that. I think Dwayne Johnson is giving a genuinely quite good performance in his role. No, I think he's giving a really good performance, especially in the sort of, I would say, the third act. There are other actors in there who are joining in with the fun, but the only one that I think is memorable for the right reasons would probably be Pierce Brosnan, because he gets to have, I think, a slightly playful tone, but is also able to carry through some seriousness that is leading towards the grand finale. Anyway, it was an okay time at the cinema. I don't think it's unmissable. It suffers from so much of what these movies now suffer from, but you can say that about any genre or subgenre of movie that becomes wildly popular. So I'm not just hating on superhero movies. I don't want to get dragged along any kind of path that leads to massive arguments and people needing others to love or hate things. Things can coexist mutually, and it's all good. What I will say is I was the first time I've been to the cinema for a while on a Saturday afternoon. I'm at the cinema. I'm about 3 rows from the back. So it's not a massive screen. It's probably about 4 rows ahead of me, then a gap, then the very front row. And for 2/3 of the movie, 2/3 easily, there was some kid playing a game on his phone, and I mean sitting like this. So that's above his eye line. And it was driving me insane. Unbeknownst to me, there was a row of about 5 kids there together, no adults with them. So I could see the 2 of them playing with their phones together, but this one kid was the worst. And I couldn't believe how anyone closer to him wasn't just tapping him on the shoulder to have a word, because it was glowing. It was a game, it was glowing. Nuts. They might have all had their phones, but I couldn't see that one. So at the end, I went down and I made sure to just tap him on the shoulder. I was like, "Hi there, would you mind maybe next time you're at the cinema not having your phone out for 2/3 of the movie, because I was back there and all I could see half the time was your little light, and it was really distracting." Like, they do ask you to turn your phones off when the film starts. There's a reason why. And he just stood like that. He's about 11, 12, 13, I don't know. Every youngster seems ever younger now that I'm growing ever older. But if you have that kind of behaviour in your cinema, and they are further away, but it's distracting to you, I would still encourage people to say something at the end, because if you don't say anything, and I wasn't being aggressive, I wasn't threatening, I wasn't trying to be a dick to this kid, just wanted to let him know his behaviour was really inconsiderate and it had been noticed. Whether or not others say anything to him, because they maybe just want to get out of the cinema and they're like, well, it's over now. I think you need to tell people if their inconsiderate behaviour has affected your experience at a cinema, that you've all paid money to go and see the same film. Because if you don't, people go away and they're chatting with their mates and they say like, oh yeah, I never have any problem with, you know, people noticing me on my phone, so I don't think it's as bad as they say. Or some people might be like, oh, my phone settings are on low, so nobody really notices. I've always tried to catch people at the end and say like, you know, when you were checking the time on your phone, or if you had some Instagram messages come up, that light immediately catches my eye rather than the massive screen in front of me. So just, unless you're a neurosurgeon on call, in which case you maybe shouldn't be going along to see Black Adam, just have your phone off for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, however long it is. We're all bad with our phones most of the time to some degree, but you can put it off in the cinema. There's adverts everywhere now telling you to do it, and there's a reason why. So especially if you're a younger film viewer, please just think of everyone else around you. I know it can be hard when you've grown up tied to your phone, and I'm as bad as anyone else, but please don't. And as I say, if you see that kind of behaviour and nobody else has said anything, I would encourage you to, at the end, just have a word. That just lets people know that it is something that has bothered you at some point in the film, and maybe next time, maybe not, but maybe next time they might think, oh, this guy said before, so I might end up annoying people on a phone out. I'm probably just wishful thinking there. Anyway, that was my chat about Black Adam and my rant once again about phones in cinemas. All of us film fans go through it. But yeah, it's piracy that's killing cinema, obviously. It's everything else that kills the cinema experience, apart from cinemas that don't have the staff to go in and check anything as an usher, or for people with their phones up in the air, and cinemas that often don't have the trained projectionists because they have people that press a button in different rooms now. Or just, you know, I could give you this list of problems that I'm sure cinemas would answer back with ideas about staffing levels, timings, etc. But at the end of the day, we're paying for a cinema experience. You deserve the best cinema experience that you're going there for. That's why it is really, really extra sad that there's been the news recently that the Edinburgh Film Festival was kaput, basically. But even more importantly than that, because I think that could find a new home at some point, the Film House is gone, and the Film House is like really dear to my heart. The Film House pretty much guaranteed everyone a joyous, wonderful cinematic experience. They had ushers that would sit in for most of the screens. They would explain to people the proper code of conduct that they would encourage everyone to go by, and they were just really passionate about film and passionate about people getting to enjoy film and their lovely surroundings. So I hope something comes about that will save the Film House. And yeah, I didn't mean to end on that really sad note. I'm really distraught about that. That is a home of cinema that at the moment is gone. So I hope there's better news ahead, and if there is, I will mention that in some other video. Go and see Black Adam if you like, and you can let us know what you thought of it. Do try and check out Creature from the Black Lagoon in 3D if you can. I know 3D home tech has been sort of phased out, but it's a really fun time. And Guns N' Roses fans, yeah, Appetite for Democracy. Even if you just watch it in 2D, you can just enjoy the songs and enjoy Axl Rose's massive ego. Love it!